He's got too much pine tar.
Sloppy jalopy. They were doing the Chris Davis fishing for it.
Might be going to call George Brett out.
Well, he is. He's out.
That's
Brett
right.
is out. Look at this. Brett is out. And
Steven Matt.
he is out and having to be forcibly restrained from hitting plate umpire Tim McClellan.
Too much butter. Way too much butter.
And welcome back to another episode of Too Much Podtar. As we had our new intro there at the beginning, I just made that, just a couple days ago. Finished it up yesterday. So, let us know what you think. Comment it on, the podcast whenever we share it. And it was Sam's idea actually. So today I have on Sam Schneider, Joey Ricotta, and also Johnnie Black as we have our trade deadline show before the deadline today at 4:00, or tomorrow if it comes out, if this episode comes out tonight when I get around to it. But welcome to the show, guys, as we talk about stuff that happened and some trades that we might see happening as the hours go by here.
Yeah, there's been a few moves so far. I mean, it seems like mostly relievers right now, with the exception of like Moreland and Jose Martinez. But
right, yeah,
I think what's crazy is that there haven't been relievers going to teams that we would normally expect them to. The Reds haven't got one. Chicago hasn't really gotten one, and the Dodgers haven't gotten one either.
No. I'm just gonna run through some of the trades. The first one was the Phillies and Red Sox. Phillies, they traded for Heath Hembree and Brandon Workman and sent Nick Pivetta and Connor Seabold to the Red Sox. And then the Blue Jays got Tajon Walker from the Mariners. White Sox landed Jared Dyson from Pittsburgh. And then there was Tommy La Stella to the A's for Franklin Barreto. So that was, player for player trade. And then just yesterday, or 2 days ago, the Padres, they acquired Trevor Rosenthal from the Royals. It was for their outfield prospect, Edward Olivares, and a player to be named later. He was probably the top reliever on the market, and he went. And then Mitch Moreland also to the Padres, which was for a pair of prospects. If I don't butcher his name, Jason Rosario. I think it's Jason Rosario, and Hudson Potts, third baseman. And then Braves added Tommy Malone. And then the last one, the most recent one. Oh no, not the most recent one, but the Cubs got Jose Martinez from the Rays. For two players to be named later. And let's see, what was. Oh, then the other one was Michael Gibbons to the Rockies, which is for their Rockies' 7th and 12th prospects. Not remembering their names, but which is kind of crazy to me. Like, if you want to start at that one, I don't think. I mean, obviously with the expanded playoffs, it was kind of like every team kind of thinks they're in it, but he only has 1 year left on his contract, so I really don't think that's a good move for the Rockies to give up that much for him, because I don't think they're really going to end up being that much into it at the end of the day.
It's surprising to me that there's been already this many moves, because in this season with it being so short, I really wasn't expecting hardly any of this to occur. I honestly thought there would be 2 or 3 trades, but for most teams to say, you know what, we'll just stand pat and we're not going to screw around, whether we're involved in the race or not. I mean, you're already going to pay the guy what he's owed. You're not offloading enormous contracts unless you're really, really bad and you're trying to offload for, next year. But there's so many teams that aren't really in that situation, I think. So it surprises me that there's already been that many moves. I actually like the Malone move quite a bit because he's a great player, and I think that's an underrated. I think that's an underrated pickup.
Yeah, I definitely like that for the Braves. They're always in need of bullpen help. So that's definitely a good move for them.
Yeah, the Malone move. I'm actually surprised there aren't more starters, and I think like right now it's just basically relievers, aside from a couple of okay bats. I mean, but I think the teams that are like middle ground, like the Rockies, maybe they felt. I mean, I honestly think they gave up too much for Michael Gibbons, but I'm not sure exactly what his contract looks like either, like how much more control they have of him. But to give up 2 prospects and a player to be named later, I mean, for a reliever, that's not even. I mean, we're not talking about Josh Hader here. We're talking about Michael Gibbons.
No.
So I don't know. I mean, the Tommy Malone trade, I think, is a decent move for the Braves. It gives them depth. He could spot start or, start and pitch 3 innings or whatever. I mean, considering they lost Soroka for the year, that gives them a little depth there going into the playoffs. I don't. The Cubs getting Jose Martinez, I think that's a good move because they've struggled a little bit with their bats, especially to hit lefties this year. And Jose Martinez absolutely destroys lefties. So
can I just jump in real quick? And I'm sorry to interrupt you, Johnny, but and I'm glad that Joey is here because maybe he could shed some light on it. I don't understand why the Cubs. I'm simultaneously surprised at the Cubs starting pitching, and surprised at their overall hitting. It just doesn't make sense to me. Maybe I can't wrap my head around it because that's the opposite of what it's been for a couple of years, but. I think I need somebody to explain it to me because I don't. When I look at the history of numbers, none of that makes any sense. It doesn't make sense that they're doing so well in pitching and yet hitting so terribly.
Yeah, it really doesn't, to be honest. It's more so I think it's just guys getting off to slow starts, and I don't think this is a trend. As far as like some of the bats like Contreras, Baez, you name it. Rizzo's had just terrible luck, so his numbers started out slow, and he's kind of picked it up a little bit, but he's just hit rockets right at guys for the most part. He's kind of like been Miguel Cabrera this year, who's also hitting rockets right at guys. But
it's so frustrating, yeah.
Oh, it's brutal. He just buttons one up and it's just at somebody's glove. That's how it just feels this year. But then Bryant, he started out. I think he had some added pressure hitting leadoff. Maybe that played into it. I'm not sure, but I feel like that experiment's probably over with when he gets healthy. But and other guys that really they've gotten so much more production from like the 5 through 9 or 6 through 9 hitters in the lineup, it feels like, and then Ian Happ's moved up to the 1 hole, but Schwarber's been pretty solid for the most part, but he's not an average guy. So I don't know. They obviously need help against lefties though, for sure. Baez, he needs to, like, it's like he'll watch one right down the middle, and then he'll swing at pitches that aren't even close right now, and he's just trying to hit himself out of it. And he heated it up a little bit against the Tigers, and he could have had a lot more hits in that series than what showed. He had some bad luck in that series too, but I don't know. It's just frustrating to watch. Like you said with the starting pitching's been really solid for the most part. Even Chatwood, I mean, it sucks because he left today. I mean, he's up and down, but he left today with elbow discomfort, I think. So that's never a good sign. Quintana's back, and he kind of piggybacked off of him after he went out, and he's actually looked really sharp. So I kind of feel like he'll probably end up back in the rotation. But as far as like the Martinez move, I like it a lot. Like Johnny was saying, he's just a career lefty killer. And, we know he's terrible in the field, but with the DH, it doesn't matter with the universal DH now. So, I mean, I only see this really helping. I'm not going to say it's going to be as big as like the Castellanos move from last year, because obviously there's a talent difference there between him and.
That's a pretty big move for the Reds this year.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah, but
I don't think we would have any wins without Castellanos being on the roster.
Or Winker.
Right.
Yeah, he's got fire as well. Anyway, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
oh no, that's pretty much all I was gonna say. Is just it's really weird to see, but I don't feel like this will probably be the last move as far as the offense goes, or only move that they make, because I feel like everybody else pretty much has their spot. But hopefully now we don't have to see guys like Albert Almora get important at bats late in the game when he can't hit anything. So
yeah, I know that.
And the bullpen looks like it's emerging a little bit too, other than like the bump in the road from Kimbrel last night, and he's looked better. And like we were talking about before the pod, like Rowan Wick has had some troubles recently, but I still really believe in his arm and his stuff. Jefferson Tepera and Casey Sadler have been pretty solid. So it's kind of been really surprising what they've gotten out of their pitching so far. So, I mean, if they can just hit better and come up with more clutch hits and 2-out singles, RBI knocks, I think this team can still push, and make even a run in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think this is a unique situation, and this is a unique pod lineup, because I think that all four of us have teams that really should be knocking on the door.
Yeah.
So, you've got, I'm not trying to out anybody, but you got Joe is a Cubs fan, and the Cubs should be knocking on the door this year. Johnny is a Twins fan, and the Twins offense for sure is undeniable. Really, really underrated pitching. And you got Alex, who if you didn't have injury issues, would be, I mean, the Yankees would be a shoo-in. They'd be a shoo-in. And then there's me with the Cubs, or me with the Reds.
Oh,
so
switching teams now?
You can come to the Cubs side.
Wow.
Come to the dark.
Stop it. I said I had a Freudian slip. I said one thing and I meant the mother. But yeah, but I mean, it's a good group of teams, and we all are having issues with our teams for one reason or the other. And I'm not suggesting that we're on this pod just to talk about our team. Certainly we're not. But it's funny to me that we've got four guys that all have teams that are, that really should be right there and are having issues.
Yeah, it was only about a week ago. I mean, as far as the American League goes, for Alex and myself, like the Twins were in first place, the Yankees were in first place. You know, along with Oakland, they were the three best teams in the American League. Now all of a sudden, Tampa Bay's in first, Cleveland's in first. You know, the Twins can't hit. They can't score more than 2 runs the past like 4 days, 5 days. You know, they're about to get swept by the Tigers. I mean, you know, they got swept by the Royals earlier this year. They gotta, you know, I mean, not having Donaldson there, not having Garver there, obviously not having Buxton again there, you know, kind of hurts the lineup a little bit. But Nelly Cruz can't do it all.
All right. Yeah, I can't believe that what he's doing at 40 years old.
It's insane.
Yeah. He's a right-handed David Ortiz.
Yeah, he's amazing.
But this, I'm just seeing that something just coming in that, well, not a trade, but the Rangers are discussing Joey Gallo in trades.
Ooh,
that's interesting.
Oh, give me all the Joey Gallo.
Yeah.
Dude, that'd be something if he lands.
What about you, Alex? With all the injuries and everything, is Gallo somebody that you'd be like, yeah, we have the money. You're used to spending money because you're a Yankees guy. Is that a player that you're like, yeah, sure, let's do that?
I wouldn't, because he obviously he strikes out a lot. I don't want another strikeout guy in the lineup. Like, that's just, I don't think that would work for their lineup.
Right.
But I did see they're interested in Starling Marte, actually.
Oh, nice.
So I wouldn't mind that, just to have a kind of a shoe-in until the big guys come back.
Marte is so underrated, in my opinion. I mean, everybody thinks he's great, and for every person that says that he's great, I say that he's even better than you think he is. But he's just been wallowing on the wrong teams for too long.
Yeah. But with the whole Gallo thing, I wonder if maybe they would even package Lynn and Gallo together. That would be insane.
Well, and Lynn is another one that you're like, what? I mean, how old is this guy? 80 and still doing well?
He looks like
he's 34.
No,
he's
he's like 50.
Yeah.
He's not that old. He just hasn't pitched that much because of the injuries, I think.
I used to believe that he's 34 years old. There's no chance.
Yeah. He
Unreal.
was on the Twins a couple years ago.
33, actually.
Oh,
get out of here!
Oh my goodness.
He's 33. Yeah.
I quit my job.
All right, 33.
More people that obviously could do better because I'm like, that guy is dragging an oxygen tank out to the mound with him every time.
Whatever helps. But he's pitching well. I mean,
I guess if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do.
That's the guy I want to see the Yankees actually go after. Like, they had him before, and he was actually pretty good for them. And then they went out and instead of re-signing him, they re-signed Happ, which I wish they did the opposite. Like, he's pitching well now.
So what else are we expecting to see? More trades the rest of the way. I don't know. I'm
hoping we get like a blockbuster.
I really hope it was dealt, but I don't know if that's gonna happen.
Who?
Clevenger.
Yeah.
Did you guys talk about Mitch Moreland and Trevor Rosenthal?
Alex brought Moreland for sure up, just as he was doing the rundown of what has gone on. I just don't know how many. Are there really going to be deadline deals? Is there going to be something that like slips in there right at the last second?
I think so. At least like one trade maybe at the last second. I don't know.
I think one major player that like someone like a Clevenger who still has 2 more years of control, or like a Hater. Right. Or someone like who still has another year or two of control, I think might be dealt. just for the team looking forward to past this year.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Well,
'cause I wrote-
and Alex just mentioned Marte, and that would be a giant one if they moved him at the deadline to whatever team. It doesn't have to be the Yankees or whatever, but if he got moved, I think that would qualify as, oh wow, that's really really big.
Yeah.
Do you guys see some of these Nationals guys getting moved? I mean, they just won last year. They can kind of afford to. I mean, not like the young guy. Like, you're not moving like Soto or anybody like that, like Trey Turner. But, like, I'm just looking at some of the other guys, like maybe like a Thames or like a Asdrubal Cabrera, who could be useful for somebody. I don't know, guys like Howie Kendrick.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I could see it.
I feel like they'd have a really good, like, especially the last two, like Cabrera and Kendrick, they'd have a lot of use on a team that's competing, and like their veteran leadership, along with, they can obviously contribute with the bat,
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just they're so loaded on the infield in general. You know what I mean? You've got guys that are fighting for at bats that really shouldn't be, but they're so loaded that I could absolutely see them moving people. I guess the question is, who do you move them to? I mean, they're a team that needs that depth. So who do you send Asdrubal Cabrera to? You're basically trying to send them to the same thing that you already are. In my opinion, I don't know. Am I wrong?
I think you'd have to go to a team that needs a utility guy, that needs a switch hitter. It has to be the right fit, obviously, because people aren't. I mean, obviously, you're not going to have teams knocking down Washington's door, knocking down Mike Lerner's door over there, like asking for Asdrubal Cabrera. I'll give you whatever you want, blank check type thing. He's not a player like that anymore, but he's still, like I said, he's still a switch hitter. Plays decent in the infield. I don't know if I'd want him as my starting shortstop right now at this age, but he's a solid player. He's got experience. Same thing with Kendrick. I mean, Kendrick's older, but he proved that he could step up in the playoffs. So Kendrick has that. There are going to be teams like our teams or whatever, that are looking toward the playoffs right now. We're more than halfway through the season. We got 25 to 30 games left. We got a decent shot at being one of the top 8. I mean, someone like Kendrick, who proved it last year with the Nationals, it's definitely help. Yeah,
I mean, I think the Reds would take Kendrick in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I just don't know that we have the right thing to offer to Washington, because we are married to a lot of our big prospects. We could send somebody that's been really good as a starting pitcher, because for some reason, all of a sudden, the Reds, who had nothing for years in pitching, are overloaded with rotation pitchers, which makes I can't even wrap my head around it. So we got guys like TJ Antone and Tyler Mahle, who just went out and like tripped on a shoelace and fanned 11 Cubs yesterday.
Hey, what did I tell you about that Tyler Mahle guy?
I was just about to say. And
Antone
always been a big Tyler Mahle guy. But he still doesn't. Our rotation is so loaded, except that I guess Mahle could, fill in for the loss of Bauer next year. But as far as Kendrick goes, that's pretty perfect for us, because Votto, as much as I love him, he's not that guy anymore, and I thought he was. I thought he was still. I just thought he had a bad year last year, and now I think I was wrong. I think he's taken a downturn pretty rapidly, and which is a shame. But somebody that can play first base and is a veteran and still hit 300 at the position, even in a platoon, would be great.
Do you think the Reds would trade Bauer this year?
It's come up a couple times. I don't think we will, because we still believe that we are right there, and I guess we are right there. I mean, we're in this year with all the playoff spots.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to be amazing to say I'm going to go to the playoffs, or to say if we go to the playoffs, our bats are going to catch fire. So that's a legitimate idea, in my opinion. And I think everybody else knows that Bauer won't resign.
Right.
He wants 1 year at $35 million. That's what he wants.
Yeah.
So we're not going to resign him for that.
Yeah, no one's paying him that.
No, but somebody will.
I don't think
the
they'll give him
Dodgers,
35.
the Dodgers would. The Yankees might.
I don't know.
I don't know about that.
Well, I don't know.
It's a lot of money.
But I mean, if you look at what he's doing, it's I don't know. It's pretty amazing. So let's say it's not 30 mil for 1 year at 25 mil. Would you do that?
Oh yeah, that I'd do.
I would.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you were knocking on the door, you would do that.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
But he will never sign another deal for more than a year, ever. He wants to be that mercenary that gets 1 year at XX dollars.
Yeah.
He's such an odd character. I love Trevor Bauer though, but I'm just
Yeah,
what you want, that guarantee. I get his point behind it though. He wants to earn his money, but
yeah,
it's
just it's astounding. But he said he talked about in an interview. He talked about I can't remember who it was. It was a buddy of his who was also a baseball player, and he said, if I ever sign any deal that is longer than 1 year, I give you permission to show up at my door and kick me in the balls. I'll never do it. I'll never do it again. So from here on out, I am 1 year, and I want above market value.
Yeah.
Which is,
I mean, it's not a horrible. Yeah, well, it's also not horrible. I mean, if he wants the 1 year at above market value, I mean, a lot of times these guys sign 5-6 year deals because of the security, but they wind up shortchanging themselves in the long run if they pitch well. So he's betting on himself basically that he can go year to year, get a couple million each year above market value, and it could wind up 5 years down the road that he made 180 million. Rather than signing a 5-year deal for 150.
Right.
If he went 1 year to 1 year, you know what I mean?
I mean, possibly not even pitching.
I get it. Yeah, it depends. This is the thing with Bauer, though. He's pitched well this year. He wasn't great last year. He's had ups and downs. I mean, the guy's not in the conversation with like Scherzer, DeGrom, like guys like that either. So I get it from his point of view. But what I'm saying is, 1 year, is a team going to take a chance that, we're going to sign this guy for above market value at, say, 30 million or 35 million? What is this year? What is he going to be this year? I mean, you would expect him to be great because he's playing for a contract 1 year at a time. But sometimes that goes against you. Look at what happened with Ian Desmond. He turned down the Nationals years ago, that long-term deal, and it's one of
my favorite stories ever.
And he turned down a deal, and he was bad. He wound up going to Texas and reviving himself, and then obviously signing the deal with the Rockies a couple years ago. But I'm just saying, sometimes that contract year, these guys put too much pressure on themselves, and it works. It works in the opposite direction.
Yeah,
You know, I don't
Des-
think Bauer's that guy. Bauer doesn't seem like he lacks confidence in any situation. So I don't think he's got that attitude. I'm just saying when you get on the field and things start going wrong, the fans start getting, especially if you're in a big market like the Yankees or the Dodgers or Boston or something like that. Just saying, I don't know how that would work out.
I get that. Alex, would you what would you pay to have Bauer on your team when you're about to win a championship? And we'll take out the part where he inevitably gets injured because it's the Yankees.
Oh my God! Don't even start with that.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
Talking about like to trade for him this year. I mean, like sign him next year. Or
Yeah, even as a free agent signing, like what would you be willing? Because Johnny said it right. I mean, Bauer was bad last year. He had like a 4.5 ERA. And then this year, he obviously is banking on himself and working harder, but he might not always do that.
Yeah.
So with that knowledge, I guess, in your back pocket, for a team like the Yankees that has money and isn't afraid to um, let the money go for a guy, what would you pay to have Bauer be, your second or third guy, maybe your fourth, I don't know, in your rotation?
I'd probably go like 30 million. I don't know. I wouldn't go 35 like you said. I don't know. Like I feel like they might go even higher. Like they might actually go up to 35. Just to, I don't know. But the other thing too is he's like it's been talked about before that him and Cole don't get along. So I don't know if they would even want to try to get him even
Right.
that in mind. But
Yes. I'd love to see the Twins, like I put in the article that I wrote yesterday. I'd love to see the Twins trade for Clevenger and then sign Bauer next year. Put them two together again.
that would be crazy.
Behind Maeda, with Maeda and Barrios. Oh, I'd love that top four right there.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
Dobnak, the way Dobnak's
and
pitching this year.
yeah.
yeah, Dobnik's been impressive too.
Yeah.
And Bauer is almost single-handedly responsible for Clevenger's breakout, because he that was part of the reason he wasn't very well liked in Cleveland and got moved, was because he kept talking to other pitchers and saying, I would do this, I would do that, because he just thought he knew more than the coaches. So he would talk to these guys personally, like Mike, um, um, and say, why don't you try doing this? And then the guy comes back and says, man, that worked really well. It seems like what you're talking about. But their coaches, their manager, and their pitching coaches didn't like that, and that was part of the reason they moved Bauer to begin with.
Right.
Yeah, I could see that with Bauer. I mean, he's very outspoken. I mean, he's
Well, yeah, and he thinks he's amazing. He thinks he's
Yeah.
amazing, and
well,
says,
he's got great stuff. I mean, he was a former first round pick. So it's not
Yeah.
like the guy doesn't have pedigree and wasn't looked on as like a top pitcher. I think he was
no,
picked
he
like
was
10th,
college
10th
player
overall
of
or
the
something.
college player of the year 2 times.
Yeah, I mean, the guy was a stud coming out of college.
Right.
Had minor injuries and didn't have the command when he started and stuff like that. And he's definitely gotten back to it.
Or frankly just got lazy. But I think it's an interesting one to bring up, especially since we're sort of talking about trades. Joey, what would you pay for Bauer to get him on the Cubs for 1 year?
Probably about the same, honestly. I would do the 25 or 30 mil and not the 35, because I mean, honestly, I don't see them being able to do that though. So that's the biggest I know it's not going to happen. So it's like just
Right.
because of the contract situations that they already have to deal with. But I would probably fork out maybe even 30 million to him for a year, because if you are one of those teams that's already pretty much loaded and maybe you have a good core nucleus of youngsters that you're not paying a whole bunch of money to, um, like early on in their service years, like maybe even a team like the White Sox, for example, right now at least, where they are positioned, um, that would make all the sense in the world for them to go after him next year. But at the same time, you have some pretty good developing starting pitchers within your own system, and you're still waiting to see from guys like Kopech possibly next year, stuff like that. But yeah, I would give him like 25 to 30 million easily, and be okay with that, at least to see what you have, especially like we were talking about. It's a risky proposition for him to pitch like that and put himself under that pressure year in and year out. But at the same time, it's a low risk move for the team, because all right, if it doesn't work out, you're out of it after a year. So you don't have to go back to that well or worry about like he's in this long-term deal of being over market value at 35 million or whatever. Even if some team wanted to pay that, I think it's a little bit high, but um, it's pretty low risk just being one season. It's not going to really severely cripple you in the long run.
Yeah, and I think his deal has been, he says that, and it's it's one of those situations where when he says, "I'm only ever gonna do a 1-year deal," the reason is because he doesn't want to keep getting dealt mid-season. Which is so that's kind of weird. Because I guess you still couldn't you?
Let's see if sign a no trade
you'd have
clause.
to
But
find a
yeah,
trade suitor that's willing to take on the rest of that contract.
Well, I agree with Joey in the sense that, with the as far as the team, you're assuming a lot less risk. Now, if he signs a no trade clause for that 1-year deal, okay, I get it. But at the end of that year, the team, even if they don't get the value, if they pay him say 30 million or 35 million, and he doesn't return the value in their eyes, just give him a qualifying offer. If he doesn't take it and he signs with another team for a 1-year deal, you're getting draft picks. If he signs with you, the qualifying offer is like 17, 18 million. So if he does sign the qualifying offer because he's not getting any other, then you're getting him for below market value, basically. So it is kind of a low risk thing for the team. I mean, yeah, if you had to eat 30 million 1 year, okay. There are plenty of teams that can afford it, especially like you said, teams that are going for it. Like I said, I'd love to see him on the Twins. We need another starter. We're going to lose Odorizzi, probably. So he's going to be on the market next year. He accepted the qualifying offer this year. One thing I did, not to change gears too much, but one thing I wanted to touch on.
Please do.
I noticed with a lot of these trades today, like the past couple days, like so far, that there are a lot of players to be named later. So guys aren't giving up these big prospects. What I think is we might not see like a big name player go, because a big name player like a Clevenger, especially someone like that with 2 years of control, Hader with 2 more years or 3 more years of control, stuff like that. Obviously, the teams that trading these guys are going to want top-notch prospects. The thing is, they're not playing any minor league games this year. So teams, I don't think, with the year of development stunted with a lot of their minor leaguers, some of these guys, especially the top guys, they haven't seen a development. So I think it's like a question mark with them. I think it's a little easier to get rid of our player to be named later, one of our lower level prospects, whatever, because it doesn't really matter. It's organizational depth at that point. So you're not going to see I don't think you're going to see a lot of these top notch prospects being traded for an established player with years of control because the team still believes in him and wants to develop him, and they haven't even seen him on the field yet this year because the minor leagues haven't played. So I think that plays into the major league trading, just the fact that the minor league seasons aren't going on.
Oh, I
just wanted
agree.
to touch
100%.
on that. Just a different outlook on it.
No, I agree with that 100% because you look at somebody like, I don't know if you mentioned Hader, but I don't think I think you did, but I don't think the Brewers are gonna be able to move him for what they want to get for him because they're gonna demand so much more than what teams are gonna be willing to give up, and like you said, they're gonna want to know what they have with the prospects on the other side, and they might even ask for a little bit more than the team that sees these guys all the time is willing to give them because it's kind of a question mark there. Like, yeah, we haven't seen them play this year. Do they still have it? Are they developing? Are they getting even better? We're just going off of your word. I mean, what can we do with that? We don't have much to go off of from that. So, yeah, I think it's gonna be really hard to move some of the big name guys like that. It's more than likely. I don't see any huge deals happening this year.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that, and I think it goes back to exactly what Johnny said. It's just, are they going to get what they want for the guy? And it's not necessarily that they're overvaluing him. I don't think they're over or undervaluing Hader in Milwaukee, but you know how this works. I mean, if you're going to send Hader to a, probably preeminent playoff team, then yeah, you're like, no, this is what we want. If you want him, come get him. But you better bring a really good offer. So I think Johnny's got that positively nailed. So he won't get moved. He's under control. And nobody's going to just jump on that kind of offer, and not just him, but the other guys too.
Yeah, and these guys are under control for a couple more years, like Hader and Clevenger. I'm just using them as the two big examples because they're arms and they're more valued in the trade market anyway. But there's no rush from Milwaukee or Cleveland to trade them. You know what I mean? I mean, if you look at it, especially with Cleveland, if Cleveland's in first place in the division, if they go into the playoffs and Clevenger pitches lights out, you just boosted his market value like 100%. So now you can ask for you can ask for that number one prospect, because going into next year, or even at the trade deadline next year, he still has another year of control, because he's signed through 2022 until he becomes a free agent. So I mean, Cleveland's in no rush. So they're just they could be sitting by the phone, being like, right, yeah, we'll just wait for the right offer. Yeah. And especially since, like we said, like Cleveland's obviously going to make the playoffs probably this year, unless the total collapse happens. I mean, why move Clevenger? I know they have a couple other guys on the, I mean, Bieber's become an ace. Savali's been decent. Plesac probably coming back. But I mean, why move him?
Yeah.
If you got a shot to win in a shortened season.
Yeah, there's just no reason.
And like visually, it's kind of a bad look if they were to go and like shop him around right now, because other teams see like what they did and how they handled the situation when he kind of went against the team and lied about going out and stuff, and then they sent him to the alternative site. I mean, teams will be like, oh, well, he has questions about his character, he has questions about this and that, if he's not getting along with, or not getting along, but not following instructions and things like that. So why would we give you that much? So it's like you're selling low on him, lower than what he probably is really worth, given his talent and what he can do on the field. So I definitely wouldn't be like just shopping him around. Like you said, I would just wait by the phone and yeah, if you have a really good offer, maybe, I'll listen.
Right.
Yeah, another guy another couple players I want to throw out there and see what you guys thought. The Angels were probably looking because they're pretty much stink this year.
Yeah.
So they might be looking to move someone like a Dylan Bundy, who's pitched well. Although last night I saw something that last night in the 6th inning, like his fastball velocity dipped big time. So I don't know if that's precursor for some sort of injury or whatever, but
Right.
keep an eye on that. But someone like Andrelton Simmons, too.
Yeah, he's a good one. I'm pretty anti Bundy, but I like Simmons a lot.
Yeah, I actually saw earlier the Twins are doing him.
Who is?
Twins.
Was Simmons?
No, not Simmons. Bundy.
Oh, Bundy. Yeah, I saw that.
Wouldn't make no sense for them.
Yeah,
it's just Bundy does this every year where, and it just so happens that this year started later. Every year he has that few game stretch where he looks like, man, he should win the Cy Young. Mm-hmm. And then the rest of the year, he's just not good. He's, at best a 4.5 ERA guy. And you keep waiting for him to put it all. At this point, I'm kind of rooting for him because I'm like, man, you get slagged so much that let's see you put it together. Let's see that be a thing. Let's see you get traded and sign a huge deal. And every year it's like, yeah. Nope. Still the same dude.
I think the one thing that's different about Bundy, obviously he had to get out of Baltimore, but he's switched his pitch mix a little bit. So he's thrown a lot less fastballs and thrown more sliders, more changeups, curveballs, sinkers. He's thrown more of everything else and just less fastballs by almost 13%. So, I think that's a big part of what we're seeing this year too. I'm not really completely sold that it wasn't that it's just him having good success and he's gonna hit a wall here. I think this is the Bundy that we probably should have been seeing. It's just Baltimore is terrible at developing pitching.
I just feel like
I don't think that was the right spot for him.
Joey, I feel like, Joe, that we say this every year about Bundy though. And I feel like people on other baseball teams are saying that too, which is why Bundy hasn't been moved more often. He has.
Well,
because every year we say, this is year. I feel like we're seeing the right Bundy, but then nothing ends up happening.
That happens with a lot of pitchers.
I don't know. Tell me I'm wrong.
I think you're wrong. You want me to say it? So I'm agreeing with Joey on this sense because he did. I believe I was a big believer in Bundy this year. The change of scenery, and he's like a Bauer in that sense. Great stuff. He was a first-round pick coming out of college. Baltimore stinks at developing pitchers. What happened to Arrieta when he finally got out of Baltimore?
Amazing.
You know what I'm saying? One
of the best trades in Cubs history.
These guys, they just don't. I don't know. Bundy's always had decent stuff. He's had good enough stuff where he was drafted first round. He had the talent coming in.
Don't get me wrong. The stuff has always been there. That's my concern. It's just always been there, but he's never put it together.
Well, it takes guys a while. Sometimes it takes guys a while. You got to remember. Look at Lucas Giolito.
Yeah, he started terrible.
Just 2 years ago, the guy was a bum. The guy was horrible.
Yeah,
and now
statistically the worst pitcher in the majors. Statistically, worst ERA.
That's a phenomenal example actually, because and you're speaking my language because I was a huge Giolito fan and was like, look at this guy. He's going to be great. And then he was horrible for multiple years. And every year I was like, no, I'm serious. This time he's going to be great. But yeah, he's finally turned it around. So yeah, you're absolutely right.
You know what it is with these guys? It's that there's a couple things that come into play. Okay. First of all, sometimes the mentality is when they're a highly touted high school pitcher, when they're a highly touted college guy, whatever, they run on talent. When you get drafted by a major league team, talent's not enough anymore to be at the top of your level, at the top of your game. So now it's you have to work harder, which these guys who have natural talent have been able to coast through high school and stuff like that without having to work hard. So I'm not saying the work ethic isn't there. It's finding what works for them. That's one thing. Second of all, when you have stuff, you don't really have to work at it in high school and college, but you have to work at the tunneling and changing the speeds, changing the eye level, changing your arm angle. All that stuff comes as you get older into a minor league system and into the major leagues. Because major league hitters, if they see you 2 weekends in a row, the first time you could shut them down. The second time, they didn't know exactly what you're throwing. So you better mix it up and know how to look at video and know how to study your mechanics and be in touch with your mechanics. Something these young guys, this is why pitching takes so long to develop. So it doesn't surprise me that when you have a first-round pitcher with the stuff of a Bundy or a Bauer or a Giolito, to name the 3 guys that we've been talking about, that it takes them 4, 5, 6, 7 years until they finally show up to be the pitcher they were supposed to be. It really doesn't surprise me, especially, and I've said this before, especially with a guy like Giolito, because he's such a big guy. It's hard to repeat your mechanics. I mean, Randy Johnson was a disaster when he was in Montreal.
Oh yeah, totally.
I mean, he was walking as many people as he struck out until he got the dude's 6'10". There's a lot of moving parts going on there. You know what I mean? And Giolito was what, 6'7"? I mean, the dude's a big dude. So sometimes it takes those guys even longer to be able to repeat the mechanics. And once you can repeat the mechanics, then you find your consistency. And that's the problem with a lot of these guys. They don't trust their stuff. They're not used to the work atmosphere. And they can't find consistency because they're not in touch with their mechanics. All those things take years to develop. So it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't surprise me when these guys all of a sudden at 27, 28 years old, they're like, wow, this guy's an ace. You know, he was drafted first overall when he was 21. Yeah, it took him 7 years to get, like, you know.
Yeah, I'm desperately guilty of, and I'll throw my hands up and say I'm guilty of, blurring the line between an analyst and a fan. And Bundy is a great example because, I've got very strong feelings about them, but I often forget that he's only 27 years old. And baseball is much more odd than football or some other sports. And, in football, generally speaking, how old a guy is when he gets to the league, because they have to do, and basketball too, they have to put in so much time before they get there in college. And baseball is not like that. Baseball, and hockey, you can get drafted at 18, and you don't. We as fans, we don't realize, you feel like he's old because you've been reading his name for years, but he's not. He's 27 years old. That's not old in baseball. So I'm definitely guilty of that for sure.
And we've all been. I mean, we're all fans of the game, obviously. I've been guilty of it too. I was always waiting for Kevin Gausman, but of course he was an Orioles pitcher, so I should have known better. I mean, I was always waiting for, even this year, Was it last year when he went to the Giants? I was like, and he had like 2 good starts in a row. I was like, oh, he just needed a better park, change of scenery, blah blah blah. But he's
there he is. He's that guy. Well, I'm gonna hold the Bundy thing over your head.
It's like, that's what I mean though. Some of these guys, it's like you wait and wait and wait, and it seems like you said, it seems like they're so much older than they really are. But with pitching is so intricate, and I understand what you're saying about like football. Even with like, guys watch college football tape and they're like, but there's so many moving parts for every play on a football team. The offensive line you're playing with, the quarterback you're playing with, the wide receiver, the running back. Like there's so many moving parts. With pitching, it's all you. It's you. That's it. You're the only one on the mound. I mean, you have fielders behind you and stuff, but it's you against the batter, and that's it. So it's more, I'd actually compare pitching more to like golf in that sense, because the mental aspect of it, you're not really depending on your teammates. It's just you.
I agree. And the only reason I brought up football is because in football, when you get drafted, I know how old you are.
Right.
Or at least I'm pretty close.
You're early 20s.
I've got a good idea how old you are. In baseball, you Google a guy's name or look a guy up, and you're like, wow, he's only that old, because you didn't realize that he got drafted when he was like, I don't know, like when he came out of the womb, or when he was 17 years old, and you're like, why hasn't this guy come around yet? Oh, well, it's only been 6 years, but it feels like I've known him for a lifetime. Whereas in another sport, you're like, as soon as the guy gets drafted, you're like, boom, that guy is 21. That guy's 22. I know that. I have to know it because he has to play for this long in college before he can do it. And baseball is so much different.
Yeah, I feel you with that. I mean, I think about just my own team with Byron Buxton. I mean, so much talent, drafted second overall, or first overall. And, he's only 26.
What?
Yeah, he's 26.
No way.
Yeah, he'll be 27 in December.
I mean, he was like one of my favorite guys in fantasy a couple years ago. I could not get enough Buxton shares. And if you had asked me that year how old he was, I would have said, I don't know, he's probably, 25. He's, they got drafted, went to the minors, did this or that, the other. And now you're telling me that he's mega young. This is exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, he was drafted out of high school. So, I mean, I heard his name. I mean, especially the Twins, like he was a top prospect for years. Like, oh, this guy Buxton, he runs like the wind. He's a great defensive player. He had great plate discipline in the minor leagues. I don't know what happened to him when he got to the majors, but I always looked at Buxton. I was like, this dude is going to be an Andrew McCutchen. That's the way I saw Buxton. I saw him like a young Andrew McCutchen. Came up, excellent center fielder, can run, can hit for some power. Great plate discipline. Just never turned into that, but he's only 26. Max Kepler is actually older.
Yeah, 26 is blowing my mind right now.
Yeah, Max Kepler is actually older than Byron Buxton.
You know who else is only 26? Ian Happ.
Dude, I know.
I had to throw that out there because I fucking love his breakout this year.
Joe Ricotta, let it be known, Joe Ricotta is the conductor of the Ian Happ train. He is.
Dude, I was all over him this offseason. Big time.
He is the conductor.
Remember, like, breathing really heavily into the mic or something? I just keep hearing like a breeze almost.
Oh,
it might have been
that was me right there, but I was hitting my face.
It might have been me as well. You can edit it out later, but Joe Ricotta is the Ian Happ hype train conductor. and I don't get it. Frankly, I don't understand it.
What do you mean? Wait. Okay. Do you not understand the hype form, or do you not understand his breakout?
I don't understand the hype, Joe.
Oh man, just if you look at, okay, so just like Johnny was saying about Buxton, with a little overeager, like Ian Happ's K rate. I mean, he was whiffing a lot, and his strikeouts are still high, but he's gotten a lot more patient. He's cut down on that quite a bit. Even last year, I mean, he got sent to the minors before the season last year, and then he got recalled mid-year, or I think it was August. I think it was July, actually. But he got recalled, and he actually swung the bat pretty damn well. And his underlying numbers, I mean, like his hard hit rate, just everything is just all off the page. And it just really just comes down to him being more patient, but like selective with the pitches that he tries to hit in the zone. Just not overeager. Now his on-base percentage is really good too, which makes him a solid leadoff guy right now. I mean, he has decent speed. The guy I just really saw coming into this year, I really thought he was going to take this step, and especially in the preseason, spring training, he was swinging the bat really well, which you could say the same about Almora, but I never had that feeling about Almora. I just thought, well, he's just, it's spring training. Like, he's just swinging the bat. With Ian Happ, you could just see that he was turning the corner. And, I mean, he's another guy that was drafted in the first round in 2015, So I think it just took him a little bit longer to kind of, he got his feet wet in the majors, and he had okay success, but he thought he was going to be a part of the future for a while, and then it's just like, maybe he's not the guy that we thought, but really, he just had things to work on still. And, yeah, I mean, he's been incredible so far this year. I mean, he's hitting almost 300. He's been really, really solid for this team. He's been one of the more consistent hitters. 7 homers, 17 ribbies. I love Ian Happ. Like, who knows if this is going to continue on like this forever, but I think there's a good chance that this could be who he is. Like, he's just a late bloomer, and he's developed into this now.
Well, and you're speaking like the conductor of the hype train, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I just I don't get it. So I guess my question is, the Cubs were, they had the best record in the majors for several weeks there, and it's a short season. So in this short season, if you could get one guy to put you over the top, would you be willing to deal Ian Happ to make that happen?
Depends on who are you saying? Is it for a rental?
Yeah, it's a rental.
I'd have to say no, honestly. And
what if it meant you were going to win a championship?
Oh man, see, this is where it's tough. This is where I know you weren't with the Scarecrow last year at this time around the deadline, but I wrote a piece about the trade deadline, and I talked in length about the Aroldis Chapman deal for Gleyber Torres, and I said that is as close to a win-win as you can get for a trade, because the Cubs got what they wanted. They won a World Series, and Chapman was a huge part in that. He wasn't as great in a couple of the games in the World Series, but he was at that point, he was just run out. He was run out there like every night, and he was just exhausted. He was throwing more sliders than he should have been. I mean, he was just out of it. But anyways, the point is, he really helped them get that championship as much as anybody down the stretch. And Gleyber Torres, budding superstar, traded to the Yankees. It was just Cubs didn't want to let something like that go, but and the Yankees obviously are very happy with that, and they were able to bring Chapman back at the end of the year. So it was as close to a win-win. Obviously, the Cubs maybe are losing long-term, but it meant the first ever championship, or not first ever, but first championship since 1908. So it was like, yeah, you had to do that move. At this point, yeah, we're kind of running out of time with like the core of these guys as far as like, you're going to have contracts up soon and stuff like that, and guys are aging a little bit more like Rizzo, but he's still not old. But, you're kind of running out a little bit of time, especially guys like Lester. The pitching's getting a little bit up there. But so I don't know. It's hard to say because my heart wants the Cubs to win now. Like, I really want them to win now. On the other hand, they don't need to because they won in 2016. It's not as like must have as it was then, and nothing will ever be in Cubs history like that was must have. But it will never repeat that again. But I feel like unless you get somebody that has control for another year outside of this year, I don't really know what move you could make to get rid of Happ right now that isn't also feeling like it's selling a little bit. I mean, are you selling high on him? I don't think you are, because I feel like this is his first signs of breaking out, really, was this season. So I feel like some guys or other teams will have questions about, like, is this for real or not, just like you do. And they're not going to want to, really ante up for more than just a loaner. I don't know what loaner there would be that puts them over the top. I mean, positionally or even pitching-wise, because I don't think they're that far off from really making a run as it is. So what is like an over-the-top move that would make sense there with Happ? You know what I mean? I don't know.
I do know what you mean. And so I'll pose this question then to Johnny and Alex as well, and just say, let's stick with Ian Happ, because he is, in my opinion only, he is as close to the perfect movable piece for the Cubs. So if you are the Yankees or the Twins, would you be willing to give up something for him, either thinking he's going to help you win or saying, no, I absolutely will not give up somebody on my team?
I mean, I wouldn't imagine giving up that much for him. Like, it can't be like top prospect or something. It has to be like somebody like, I don't even know what you would give up for him to get him. Like, probably just a player to be named later, to be honest.
I'd give up a decent prospect or two for Happ, considering he's still young and just coming into his own. I wouldn't give up like a top prospect like a Royce Lewis or Kirilloff or someone like that, but I'd be willing to move a couple pieces for Happ.
I mean, here's the other side.
The plate discipline's definitely improved. I mean, he's at 22 walks and 28 strikeouts this year, which is incredible. He's probably learned a lot from Anthony Rizzo, because he's always good for pitch recognition or taking the walks and stuff like that.
Sorry to jump in here, but the trade just happened. So Jason Castro, the Angels catcher, was scratched from tonight's game, and so because of trade talks, now he was just traded to who other but the Minnesota Twins.
Oh,
Oh,
So
We'll take him. We'll take him back for the rest of the year. That's fine. He was with us for 3 years.
All right, that's crazy.
What did we give up for him?
I don't know. I just came in now, just so I don't even know what the details are. But
is that a rental? I don't know what his contract is.
I think it was a rental. Yeah.
Yeah, he signed a 1-year deal with the Angels. He was with the Castros. I was going to say he was with the Twins for 3 years, but with Mitch Garver's like breakout last year and everything like that, and we just didn't, we let him go, and he signed a 1-year deal with the Angels. But that's fine with me because he's familiar. He's familiar with, with a couple of the guys on the staff actually, but he's not familiar with Maeda or Odorizzi. But Odorizzi, yeah, he was there last year with Odorizzi a little bit. But the thing about Castro that I like is that he's an excellent pitch framer. Calls a great game. Like he's very more defensive. Takes a lot of walks, which is good. A left-handed bat. Which I don't know how that's going to fit as far as because we have Avila, who's also a left-handed bat. So 2 left-handed catchers, which is going to be interesting. But
hey, what's the deal with how long is Garver out?
He was put on a 10-day IL, but I haven't seen anything.
It's so weird. Like, is it worse than maybe?
Oh, wait a minute.
They think then? Like,
wait, take that back. That was a fake John. I just got.
Oh, jeez.
Oh man, Alex.
That was a fake John Morosi account because now Passon just tweeted the San Diego Padres have emerged as strong favorites to trade for him.
Wow.
Well, I mean, we've all been guilty of that before, for sure.
Yeah, I should have double checked to make sure, but because it's spelled JOM, like John Morosi.
Oh, jeez.
Like maybe it's John Boy.
John Boy Morrissey. Morosi, I mean.
Yeah.
Hey, I see something here from Rosenthal, though. I don't know. I guess it was like an hour ago that the White Sox were talking with the Indians for Clevinger.
Wow.
I don't know. I don't believe it. I don't believe if the Indians give up Clevinger, they're, in my opinion, they're morons. I don't understand it. I understand that they were disappointed with the way the whole COVID thing went when he and Plesac went out and whatever. And Plesac is amazing. And Clevinger is, I mean, if you look at his stats, he's good, but he's not amazing. He's not, Max Scherzer, but people seem to think he is. But I still, if I'm the Cleveland Indians, I still would not dare give him up.
I don't know. Clevinger's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yes, he's not. He's not Scherzer or those guys, but he's the next tier down.
Agreed.
I mean,
yeah, he's. I mean, just barely over 3 ERA for the last.
For his career.
Yeah. For his career. So I mean,
he's like 3.2. I mean, ERA for his career, 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. I don't know, man. He's been good. I mean, him staying healthy and not doing stupid shit. that's the question mark you have when you trade for him. But if Cleveland's going to get rid of him this year, especially like we said with Cleveland, vying for a playoff spot, they're in first place right now. If they're going to get rid of him, a pitcher like that with 2 more years after this year of control, they're going to want you like your home minor leagues.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I don't really understand if you're vying for a playoff spot. I don't see you giving up a Mike Clevinger. It doesn't add up at all unless he's just he's doing things behind the scenes that we don't see. If he's at odds with ownership or management, cool. Then we could understand that. We don't know it for sure, but just from an on the field standpoint, it doesn't add up.
Well, here's a scenario. How about, I mean, like you guys mentioned the other pitchers that they have, like Savali, Plesac, Bieber. You still have Cookie. That's a pretty good crop of pitchers, especially as comfortable as they probably feel at this point developing pitching. I mean, they've had so much success developing pitching. Maybe they're just looking at it from less of a, we're losing something here, and more of a, we're just gaining a strength that we have maybe a little bit more trouble with because they feel good about what they have around them, other than Clevenger. So, I mean, they're competing this year, obviously, but what if they just rolled the dice with some of the guys that they have and say they had a package deal with like the White Sox for, I don't know, including Kopech, who isn't pitching this year, but he's still a top-rated prospect, throws 100 miles an hour, very good stuff, and you could see he's probably going to be ready for the rotation next year. He got a little taste and then he got hurt, obviously. Before, but I mean, you get a bat along with the Kopech. I mean, I feel like that wouldn't be a terrible move for the team as a long-term move. If you can get a bat, I don't know. I see where it could possibly, you could make a move like that. But like you said, he's so valuable that, and while you're in the hunt for it right now, like, do you make a move like that? I don't know.
And I understand that. I follow it completely. If I'm the White Sox, there's no way I would do that. But I'm actually more interested in, if we're talking about Clevenger, I'm interested in what Alex would say about the Yankees, because for once you'd be getting a guy that you're taking on a current deal rather than taking on a rental and saying, okay, and we'll sign him too. So I don't know. Is Alex, would you want the Yankees to look at Clevenger?
Yeah, I definitely would. I think the Indians' asking price would be like really, really high, like, which always scares away Cashman. So I feel like he'll probably start the deal with Andujar, but he doesn't have much. He'll try to start the conversation with him, but he doesn't really have much value. So it's like kind of hard to even put him in that kind of a deal. Like, you have to have a lot more than that. So
right.
Indians we asked for like Schmidt, Garcia, whatever, Florial, which I'm not. Like, I actually want the Yankees to trade him, so I don't know, but it would probably take quite a bit to get him, like probably 4 or 5 prospects. So I just don't know what. Like, I would give up. I would probably give up Florial, maybe Garcia. Schmidt is probably not an untouchable for me. I wouldn't want to give up him, but like Florial, Schmidt, Andujar, I don't even know who else. Like some other prospects. Like, I can't think of the names, but like kind of like like mid-tier prospects, like, below Schmidt and Garcia.
Yeah, I get it.
But
Clint Frazier. No, I'm just kidding.
But yeah.
No, dude, that guy's going to be a stud. I wouldn't trade him. Although if I needed a piece and I was the Yankees, I would dangle him out there and be like, "Hey, what about Clint Frazier?"
Cashman actually said just like a couple of days ago. He said that he's probably not going to look to trade him now, especially now with all the injuries. He's important, but he's not going to be traded this year for sure.
Yeah.
But
I don't think he should be either. It's just if I really, really needed a piece, Frazier would be like the guy that I put out there and said, well, what about this?
yeah, I mean, he tried to do that last year, but since he started every trade talk with Frazier, like nobody was even biting at the bait.
Well, that's going to be that's going to come back and bite a lot of them in the ass, I think, because in my opinion, Frazier's going to be something pretty good.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's just my opinion. What do I know?
Yeah, I agree though. I think it'll be good. I just hope the Yankees finds like a spot for him. Like when the Yankees are healthy, like he doesn't really have a spot. So,
the Yankees are never healthy, Alex.
Well, you're right. I mean,
he'll always
the hard part about a move between, like, if you were to actually consider moving Frazier to the Indians in a deal like that, is they pretty much, that's like the need that they don't have. Like, what, as far as like a designated hitting a right-handed batter, they have that in Franmil Reyes. So It's like, that there's no spot really on the Indians for someone like that either. It'd have to be somebody else.
Yeah. I just
they need the Indians really need like outfield depth, I think.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I don't know. I guess sometimes whether you're in the hunt or not, you have to ask yourself, does this make the overall organization better? And if you're thinking about moving a guy like Clevenger for one reason or another, that doesn't have to do with stats. You're just saying we want to move him. Then a guy like Frazier, he is kind of that kind of guy where you're like, well, whatever, that's great value. We'll take him. Do we need him right now? No. Is it going to cost us? Is it going to cause a headache into where we play certain people? Yeah, but I don't know. Should we do it value wise if we're already getting rid of this guy? I think that'd be a good starting point.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like he can't play the outfield either. He's like last year he was terrible, but he's definitely improved since last year. He's been better this year as far as that. Like he's definitely more valuable in the field than Andujar is. He has a lot more value as far as that goes. Because Andujar, he's just a bat. He doesn't have any defensive value, like at all.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. Even though Frazier, he might have improved in the outfield, he's never going to be a good outfielder. He's just not. I mean, he may be adequate enough at a corner spot, and Andujar is just horrible in the field. So, I mean, packaging those two guys to Cleveland, like you said, they have Franmil Reyes, who's, he's not great in the field either. But then you also have Carlos Santana at first base, who's, 39 years old or whatever. He's not that old, but I'm just saying, like, they need outfielders, like you said, or they need a top-notch infielder who could play second or short, because then they can turn around and move Lindor.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's thinking outside the box a little bit, but they've already talked about moving Lindor, like especially this offseason. It was like a major talking point.
They're not going to re-sign him. We know that.
So, yeah.
I mean, and then how long does Jose Ramirez have left? A couple more years too. You know what I mean? This is, if you can trade these guys, I understand like Cleveland's in first place and everything like that, But like Sam was saying, if you can get value for the organization and you can trade Clevenger, I even talked about it. Like, if Clevenger, if they traded him to the Twins, the Twins have a couple outfield prospects that are actually second and third in our organization, Kirilloff and Alarnik.
All right.
We trade an outfield, trade Alarnik, trade one of your pitching pieces, Johan Durand or I always mess up his name, Jordan Balzovich or something, or someone like that, Blaine Enlow, like one of the top pitching prospects, and then you give them some organizational. They give them a Nick Gordon, Travis Blankenhorn, like all these guys that like who can play the infield, are actually decent fielders. That's the thing. That's the thing with the Twins side of it is that they can make moves because they have so much. They have a lot of talent in the minor league still.
Right.
I don't know if Cleveland would do that because it's within the division. I was going to say that about the White Sox too. Like, I don't know if you trade within the division like that.
Yeah, especially.
Yeah, Clevenger will never play for Chicago, or not Chicago AL. But he might. But Chicago NL makes sense, but he would never be an American leaguer.
So then let's go to the next obvious question. Do you trade Ian Happ as part of a package for Clevenger?
Oh my God!
We were just talking about Ian Happ. Would you move him?
I know.
Yeah, that was the reason. That was part of the reason that I brought it up.
Oh man,
I think
I would.
I think you do.
Yeah.
I would. Yeah, I absolutely would. Because you give me a core of pitchers, and we're not even 100% sure that the universal DH is going to last, right? I mean, we feel like it's kind of leaning that direction. But past this season, we're not 100% sure. Is that right?
No, didn't they agree to it for next year?
We're 99% sure.
I think they agreed to it already for next year, didn't they?
Oh, they did? Okay, I could be wrong about that. I wasn't sure.
No, they didn't. Did they?
No, I thought they did.
I don't know.
I wasn't sure. I
don't
know.
I thought they agreed for it.
I guess my point is the same thing. Just put Ian Happ's name in there. Do we really think that Ian Happ is awesome?
But he's got more value, in my opinion, than a Clint Frazier and Miguel Andujar, though.
And Clevenger?
If you're putting them like in that bucket of players that we've listed, especially at the major league level, I think Ian Happ not only has the most potential, but is the better player out of those guys because he can play the field too. Better than Andujar and better than Frazier. I believe in those guys. I like, especially Frazier, hitting wise. I like those guys. But if you're going to give me who's, the prospect and who's the guy that I feel like is coming into their own and also has a little bit more value outside of just hitting, I think Ian Happ gives you that because he could play center field, he could play left field for the Indians. So
what is Ian Happ's career batting average? Oh,
we'll see. It's
sorry.
Not
I didn't mean to say this into the mic. I was trying to talk to Alexa.
It's 250 though, by the way. I got his page pulled up right now, but he's he started out though. I mean, he had 24 bombs his rookie year, and then he just kind of like faded out. But he wasn't, he was like we were talking about. He's swinging and missing a lot. He just wasn't patient. Just really had a hard time figuring out how teams were adjusting to him, how pitching was adjusting to him as a hitter.
But his career batting average can't be over 260 at best, and he's suited to be a leadoff guy. Like that's, I think his
I don't
deal.
I don't even know if he's really like going to be a full-time leadoff guy. I think he's working well in that spot right now, but on base percentage wise, the way that it is right now, yeah, he's a leadoff guy. Will it always be that high? I'm not sure. But, he's gotten better with the pitch recognition and stuff like that. Like we've talked about patience wise, it's just his approach has gotten, a lot better. But Like going back to what we were talking about, if you put him in a trade with Clevenger as a Cubs fan, I'm taking that deal because I want what Clevenger provides as a pitcher, and you got him for what? How many more years after this?
I think 2.
I think 2, yeah.
2 more.
Years. I mean, I'll take that though. I will take that, and it's. I just feel like that's something that, it's really going to be more useful to the Cubs.
But
I love
as
that.
a Cubs
Like you
fan,
said,
you'll still cry about it a little bit. You'll
well,
still be like,
hate to see
I can't believe. I'm really excited about Clevenger, but I can't believe that Ian Happ is not a part of my team anymore.
Yeah, I mean, like just last year, though, this is how much things change year to year. Because literally just last year, even when he first got recalled and he wasn't swinging it particularly well right off the bat, I mean, you wondered how much trade value he had, if he had any. And now it's like a complete turnaround to where we're talking about him in a potential deal, or as one of the centerpieces in a deal for Mike Clevenger. You know what I mean? So just that alone, this is how much the game of baseball evolves.
Yeah. And I guess at the end of the day, my question is for all of you guys is, I don't know how many trades we're about to see. So my question is, Ian Happ is a great example. And there's plenty more that we know on our teams and not on our teams. At some point, you have to say, in this short season, how much stock do you put in what is in any other season basically a fast start? Before you say, yeah, no, show me that for 162 games, or show me that you're more than just a hot hand, because I don't know. That's how I feel about a couple guys. And we were talking a lot about Bauer, and he's a great example too. Bauer, we all know, is a good pitcher. But are we looking at him and saying, oh my God, holy smokes, this guy should win the Cy Young? Well, it's only been a couple starts. Ian Happ hit 7 home runs. Do I think he'd hit 40 in a year? I don't.
No.
But do you know what I'm saying? So at what point in this season, this is why the trade deadline in a 60-game season is so confounding, is because what do you buy? Like, who are you buying, and why would you? Why do you believe it?
Well, let me chime in with the Ian Happ stuff and the Clevenger. I mean, as far as Ian Happ goes, we're talking about a 25-year-old who has improved his pitch recognition and walk to strikeout rate each year the past 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
He's improved his batting average. He has over 400 OPP. I mean, he's got pop in his bat. Yeah, he's gonna be a 480 home run hitter. No, but 25 to 30, I could see easily. That wouldn't be a surprise to me. He can play the field, and not only that, going back to Clevenger has started more than 21 games once in his career. So you're trading someone going into their prime, basically, who's shown linear improvement, like an Ian Happ, for a guy that's been inconsistent, a little bit of a head case. I mean, who's the more valuable player?
Well, but Johnny, real
you know
quick.
What I'm saying? Like,
yeah, but real quick, you just said how amazing Bundy was.
Well, yeah, because he's coming. Yes, well, he's coming into his own also. That's what I'm saying.
He's not Clevenger, and I don't think he ever will be.
No, but we also don't know that. You don't know how consistent these guys can be. Clevenger hasn't shown. I mean, he's good when he pitches, but who is he? Is he going to fall off the map? Is he going to have on? You know who was good when he pitched too? Garrett Richards. The dude dominated, but he could never stay healthy.
I love Garrett Richards,
but he could never stay healthy.
Yeah,
you know,
I was big on him coming into this year too, because I thought, man,
if
he stays healthy.
Yep.
If he stays healthy, you know what? He's playing in an awful division right now with just some of the best hitters and worst ballparks to pitch in when you go to Coors and you're playing Dodgers like twice in a week. Like, what? You can't. No, he's not going to have a good year. That was my fault.
I get it. I get it with Garrett Richards. All I'm saying is that Garrett Richards is great stuff, pitched well. And look at Lance McCullers, another one. Guy's got great stuff when he pitches well when he pitches. Is Clevenger that guy? He started more than 21 games once in his career. So is he that guy? Or does he turn out that he's a head case, gets hurt, or whatever? I mean, another guy who's really good when he pitches but can't stay on the mound, Noah Syndergaard.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what? There's so much risk involved. There's so much more risk involved with a pitcher than there is with a batter. And to have someone like an Ian Happ that has, like I said, and you don't see it often sometimes, but the linear improvement, the way he came up, hit for power, but struck out a lot, didn't walk, pitch recognition wasn't great. He swung for the fences. You know, then he got sent down last year, made some adjustments, came up, and he's playing well this year. So granted, this year, yes, to Sam's point, it's a small sample size. I get it. But generally, the things like walk to strikeout rate, those are generally things at especially the major league level, are things that will be consistent going forward. It's not a fluke. Like, it's very rare. I don't even know. I couldn't point to an example. Have you ever seen a guy that like walked 30 times and struck out 150, and then the following year it was like 80 and 90, and then the following year after that they went back to 30 and 20? Like, that doesn't happen. Once you have that confidence and once you have that pitch recognition and have the reaction time to lay off certain pitches or to swing at certain pitches, it doesn't go away. So that's why I think Happ will continue to improve. Whereas Clevenger is a mystery.
Yeah, well, I guess he is, but I don't really. I don't know. I don't.
I think if Clevenger's on the field, see, this is the thing. I don't mean to cut you off, but if Clevenger's when he's on the field, he's great. Like, we know that he's a really dominant pitcher. He's a really good pitcher. So, well, like, to your point, yeah, he hasn't been able to stay on the field. He hasn't been somebody who can be relied on to go out there and give you at least 30 starts a season. He hasn't been that guy yet. So, and like, you know, a lot more risk involved with pitchers. And the other side of this is Ian Happ has been one of the key cogs in the wheel this season for the Cubs. So it's like, you know, if you are going for it this year, like we've been talking about, how do you replace his bat in the lineup at this point? The way that he's been hitting, you know, and we have not had, but this year, the small sample, you know, what we've been talking about. But
in the past, I could replace his bat with a blink. This year,
in the past, but this year in particular. And how much of this Javi Baez, I believe he's going to turn it back around, but, you know, there have been underlying things with Baez that a lot of, you know, big fantasy guys have been like, you know, he swings and misses a lot, you know, he chases a lot, and that's always been a part of his game, but he's just been kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. He's been the example that you don't look at, but he still produces. Like, it's weird with him, but I still believe in his talent.
And he'll come around. I think we all agree on that for sure.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is Happ finally meeting his value is this year only, as far as I'm concerned.
You think it's this year only? Then is that what you're saying?
Well, no, I'm just saying this is the first time I've heard his name a million times, just like you said about Franmil and Sano is a great example, where you're just kind of like, I don't know, is it? I've heard a lot about him. Is it actually happening this time? And in a 60 game season, I don't know if I buy that. Basically, I guess I'm just saying I don't
Yeah.
buy certain guys this season.
In general, no, I agree with you because you can't put a whole lot of stock. And like you posed that question of how much do you put into this season in comparison to others because of how, shortened it is. And, is it just a hot start? Is it just a bad start?
Yeah,
And
is
that's
it is it a
definitely,
is it a 20 game stretch of being good?
well, it's definitely like a plausible thing and something to be concerned of and to monitor. But like as Johnny and I were talking about with like somebody like Hap, and not just him, but just other guys like this, if you've seen it kind of turning the corner before this season and you could see the things leading up to this, and maybe they have prospect pedigree and things like that, so it wasn't just like they were a nobody coming into the season, I
Right.
feel like that's the time you pounce, and I feel like you could put more weight into that than you generally would in like a small sample size of games because of the other stuff that showed you that he could be this uh, ahead of this. So, like somebody like Hep, I would be more willing to buy on and believe in what he's done to this point than say somebody like, I don't know, name your like breakout guy this season that really just kind of came out of nowhere, like Donovan Solano maybe. I don't know if that's even a good example, but
Yeah, I get that, and it makes sense. I'm just so skeptical in 2020, and I think rightly so. And I think we all are. I'm not accusing anybody of not being completely skeptical. It's hard to say in a 20 game stretch. Yes, see, look, this is what I said for eons, um, because that would be ludicrous. But I don't know. I would never put an asterisk on this season because I believe it's a battle of attrition. And whoever comes out on top, I mean, if there is an asterisk, it's kind of, and look what they did. They overcame all this. And I honestly believe that. But from an individual player standpoint, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. 20 games, you were good? Great. Um, that doesn't make me a buyer.
yeah, I hear you on that. I definitely,
Yeah,
yeah.
I agree
You
with
make some good points, though. I mean, I get your skepticism for sure.
Just on players, not on teams, just on individual
Yeah.
performance.
exactly. Yeah, like we said, like the season preview show too. You were saying like get like with all the stats too, like the league leaders and stuff. That's probably gonna you can't look at that the same either. Like if somebody hits 400 or whatever, it's not really gonna. It's not gonna mean anything to me really. Like we're gonna know like. I mean, maybe we'll look back in like 30 years and be like, oh, that was he hit 400, and then we're like, oh wait, but that was 2020. We all know that was just a short season.
Right? 2020, we all know that.
Yeah, we all know that story.
So I guess that's what I'm saying. I don't know. And we're obviously was supposed to be a trade episode, and um, I don't know. Maybe I took it for a ride, but I guess what I'm saying is I just I don't know that I'll buy individual performances this year I do buy into team performances this year. Whoever wins the World Series and wins, the division series before that, um, I'm like, yeah, man, you did that, and you should be proud because it's a war of attrition. Individual performances, I'm completely nonplussed.
Hey, I've got a quick update, by the way.
What's that?
Hit us.
Sam, you're gonna hate this.
Oh, no.
Oh God.
It's not a trade update, but the Cubs beat the Reds 10-1 today.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought it was gonna be something like Bauer for a second.
No,
Yeah,
but
no,
Ian Happ hit 2 homers in the game.
Oh,
and I just thought it was perfect because we've been talking about this all day.
yeah.
And one of them was off of Luis Castillo, who is somebody I wanted to talk to you about and ask you how much stock do you put in his kind of struggles this year, I guess.
I don't. First of all, that is amazing, and I saw the score come in on my text updates and was like, yeah, seems about right. 10-1 is not shocking, because for some reason we can't hit. But the answer to your question is, I still, I don't know if this makes sense. If you're not from Cincinnati, maybe you wouldn't understand it. I like Luis Castillo as our pitcher, as La Piedra, the stone. I like him better than I did Johnny Cueto.
Interesting.
Because Johnny took a while, and don't get me wrong, I love Johnny. He was amazing. I'm still
You
a
hear
fan
that,
of
Johnny?
his.
Oh man.
I'm still a fan of his. I still follow him with the Giants, and I'm glad he came back from the ACL, and I follow him. But as far as optimism goes, as a Reds fan, I'll take Castillo first all day. So I don't know if that answers the question, but there it is.
Oh, it definitely does. I agree with you, actually, because I think, like, Castillo has some of the nastiest stuff out of any starting pitcher in the game, I think.
He's got the best slider in baseball, and I
And
don't
his
care.
changeup.
I don't care who anybody hears this. We could broadcast this to 10 trillion followers, and I will stand by. He has the best slider in baseball. There's just no denying it.
Yeah, and his changeup might be like it's like right there, I think. Like his change, I think it was like better than just about everybody last year as far as numbers go against it. Like nobody touched his changeup last year at all.
Well, yeah, and I guess that's what I'm saying is his slider is 60% of the time that's basically his changeup, and he's still throwing it for, I don't know, 89, 90 miles an hour, and just absolutely buckling knees. And he's one of those guys where I watch him pitch, and even as an analyst and as a sports fan and a writer, as we all are, I watch him do these things, and I'm like, I don't understand that. I don't get it. I can't wrap my head around it.
I think I know what he's like, at least from what I saw today. And I don't watch every start of his because it's impossible to do, being, just watching the Cubs as much as I do, and then also like work and whatever. But like it seemed to me like he was relying more on his stuff than actually locating, even though he has tremendous stuff. So like he's throwing it in the zone, but these are big league hitters, and they're going to take advantage of, even if you give them an edge, and I mean, like some of those like fastballs that he was running in there, or if it's like a power sinker, I'm not sure what you call it, but it's like hitting the inside corner. I mean, he made Rizzo look foolish. Like the pitch looked like it was coming right at his like midsection, and then went back over the plate for strike 3 right on the corner. And
Yeah,
I mean, like pitches like that, like if he's locating, he's disgusting.
I can't understand it. I can't wrap my head around it just because it's one of those things where I said if I started today, I could spend years trying to do what this guy is doing, and I can't do it. That it's just I know it's never going to happen. So, but you absolutely nailed it with stuff. He has the stuff. Is he perfect? Absolutely not. Is he a lot better with Derek Johnson as a pitching coach, who, in my opinion, should be our manager next year? If he wasn't here, these guys, Sonny Gray, La Piedra, even Trevor Bauer, they would not be where they are without Derek Johnson. I don't know. It is what it is. I don't mean to go on a Reds rant, but you know how it is. You start talking about your own team, and you go,
Yeah, we've been there.
Yeah.
Speak for yourself. I never talk about the Twins.
Whatever. That was like the best example. That was a cuss word, if I remember in the offseason.
Oh yeah,
that was a cuss word.
I was like, you gotta stop talking about them already. Jeez.
Oh man. It was like, actually, we get like 1 minute in Bomber Squad.
So this was supposed to be a trade episode, and instead we just talked baseball. But to be completely honest, I think it was better.
Yeah, it was more supposed to be just like a general MLB episode anyway. Like, there wasn't really that much to talk about as far as trades. Like, I mean, there was, but not as much.
Yeah, definitely. I think a better thing because everybody is coming hard in a weird season and has very, very strong opinions, and that's valuable. And I don't know, people like that. So I appreciate being on with you guys. That said, I gotta go.
Oh yeah, it's almost at 2 hours anyway.
Yeah, well, I don't even know if these people are here. I haven't heard anything, but I think her mom came here, and I don't know what. Other than that, what's going on with the? Anyways, the house is. We're doing something with the house today. They're doing drywall.
All right.
So
I love how
he just robbed you. Walked out with like your whole
quote unquote.
Yeah. I know, right? They just took everything, and I'm in here doing a podcast. Like, oh, he's distracted. We're good. He's talking baseball.
You're gonna go into the living room, and there's gonna be like, nothing there.
Like that scene of
all my stuff's gone.
It's gonna be like that scene
man.
of Smith.
The what?
The scene of Will Smith and Fresh Prince.
Oh God, where he just walks in, and everything's empty.
Yeah.
And basically shrugs his shoulders and says, "What the fuck? This is whatever."
Yeah.
Guess I'm not going to my fantasy draft tonight.
Oh, what time is that?
It's at 7:00 your time. But if all my stuff's gone, I mean, I think that might be a little more important.
Yeah.
I got nothing to lose, right? So
yeah, exactly.
I might as well just leave. I already lost it all.
Well, I don't know, Joe. If you've lost everything, but you can make $100, then I would suggest making $100.
Yeah, you got to invest wisely. I gotta make some money back for the stuff that went out the door. Oh,
Well,
man.
it was, and I assume Alex is going to edit most of all of this out, but
No.
Yeah, about an hour and a half of it out of the 2 hours.
You're assuming wrong, my friend. Oh, man.
but this, even if it wasn't something that was going to air, this is what I needed this week. This is what I needed. I needed to talk sports and shoot the shit, and I love you guys. So I gotta go, but let's do it again soon, whether it's a podcast or not.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sounds good, Sam.
Yeah.
Awesome, Sam.
All right, take it easy, fellas. I'm out.
All right.
All right.
Later.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was our trade deadline / just general MLB talk. We kind of went off a bunch of different routes, and yeah, so see what happens here in the next. Well, as we're recording this, it's the next 23 hours before the trade deadline. But once this goes up, it'll be a lot less than that. So, yeah, thanks for tuning in to another pod. We'll be back with some of our DFS shows. We've been kind of I've been slacking with that. I haven't done one in a couple of days, but we'll be back with that hopefully tomorrow. So, yeah, as always, you can never have too much pod tar. And thanks for listening.
All right.